Okay, we are live with episode 16 of the K-Stream podcast, and I'm so excited to talk more about remote production today with Kimberly Flowers, who runs remote or is the founder of Remote Producer Live. So we'll talk to her all about her company and maybe some remote live production best practices. I love geeking out over this kind of stuff. So Kimberly, welcome and thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited for today's conversation. I love geeking out on talking about technology and stuff like that too. So I guess I'm in the right place.
Absolutely. I hope so. So first, tell me what exactly is Remote Producer Live?
Yeah. So Remote Producer Live, we are a remote production company and we produce online TV shows and virtual events for our clients. And so we've been around for quite a while. Well, not that long, about 5 years, right? But before COVID started.
Yeah.
But with COVID, obviously, there has been a new surge in people looking to continue doing business online and, thinking around new ways to attract and deal with their potential clients and things like that, resonate with new clients online. And so it's been super successful. We've had like a major surge when it comes to customers just during that time period. But yeah, we've been around for a while and, Remote Producer Live, we produce online TV shows and virtual events.
And how
And we
did
can do that
you
anywhere in the world? Like it's all remote. Everything is done as the name kind of states, right? Like all of the production that we do is completely remote. So we work with people from all over the world and we produce these online TV shows and virtual events from the comfort of their own home or office, wherever they want to shoot from.
So that's fascinating. So there's no on-site part of your business.
No on-site part. Nope. It's completely remote. And so we found that that has given the client a lot of flexibility when it comes to where they're shooting, how they're showing up during the shoot, and being able to kind of give them the comfort of staying home, staying or in their office or wherever they want to shoot, and collaborate and connect with people, their guests, from all over the world.
So you said Remote Producer Live has been around about 5 years. What
5
were you
years.
doing before that, and that kind of led you to this?
So I used to teach production. So I used to teach people how to create awesome videos and how to improve the quality of those videos and how to leverage video for business. And so it was mainly a coaching kind of training platform. I had an online course called Video Like a Boss, and it was dedicated to, teaching entrepreneurs how to leverage video for business. And so within that process, it was we did a lot of training. I did a lot of training, and I found that a lot of people, even though they want to know, especially with business owners, right? Even though they want to know how to do these things, once they figure out what it takes to create, their online TV show or their virtual event, most of them, the follow-up question was really just hey, can you just do this for me? Is there a way, is there a version of this kind of process where I do nothing and you guys come in and do everything, for the process. And so finally, after just getting that repetitive question so many times, we bit the bullet and decided to, we were, hesitantly, I would even say, offer that as a service, just because there's just so much troubleshooting that happens when you're not familiar with the other person's devices and things like that. You're having to, and so we had to develop a really interesting process for how we are able to service the client completely online, right? And being able to help them feel confident about the look of their show, no matter where they're coming in from and no matter, what devices and things they're using. So it was a little bit complicated in the beginning. We failed a lot and we learned a lot, but thankfully that, those learning curves and things like that brought us to a place of a very, system that I'm in love with now for being able to service our clients and, give them the confidence and peace of mind that all things, they don't have to worry about the technology side of whatever they're doing. They're able to just show up, be an amazing host, be an amazing facilitator of their, virtual conference or summit, and know that the technology is going to be there and reliable, during that time. So, yep, that's kind of how the history of Remote Producer Live.
I love that you mentioned the failure, because I feel like, especially with
Yeah.
live streaming, you have to be comfortable with that almost, right?
Yeah, and more importantly, like you have to prep your client to understand the platform as a whole. Because, like you said, like live stream is a different beast than any other type of production. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's live. It's just like live TV. Like anything can happen when things are live, and so a lot of the preparation, like unlike typical video production where a lot of the stuff is cut out in the back end and you're able to do like a lot of fixes in post. Live production is very much so prepped on the beginning side of the conversation. So you are having to, just train your audience and train your client about like how the process works. So they're not asking you to do like, because we don't do post-production, right? So we don't do a lot of like, we do what's called patch files in the event that certain things happen, but it's very, very minimal. And it's just if like we have an emergency where the person's just staring at the camera or something and they forget all of the words and you know what I mean, like things like that. We're able to do some slight patching and things like that. But as far as like adding graphics and intros and little interviews, like anything that's happening during the broadcast is all done at the front end.
Wow. So you do the prep work for the broadcast, and then that's kind of it for you guys.
Yeah. No. Well, so we
And then sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No. Well, what I'm saying is like we do the prep work before time. And then, of course, they have an actual remote producer on during their session with them. Right. So it's just like live TV where you jump on a broadcast, you're seeing the graphics and you're seeing the output like the audience would see it. You also see yourself, like you see yourself as you are, and then you see the output as the audience sees it. And you'll hear your remote producer saying, "Hey, welcome to the broadcast. We're about to go live here in about 20 minutes or whatever."
Okay.
We have to come a little earlier so that we're able to set their shot. Make sure they don't have any technical difficulties, that their guests don't have any technical difficulties. And if they do, give us time to mitigate those things at the beginning. So, yep, it's just like a live, any live type of TV programming, right. That you would expect. But it's amazing because it's basically like having a production crew, studio crew, right from your computer. So that's super awesome and convenient for the client.
Absolutely, and so you're with them through the whole live show. But as far as, and then that's do they get like you said, they kind of get that output, whatever was done live, right? But as far as more post production work, you're not doing much of that. It's really about the prep for the live event, producing the live event itself, and then moving on. Okay.
Yep. And they also get a recording of the broadcast as well. So they'll be able to use and repurpose that content because they'll get an HD recording of each broadcast that they do. And they're able to do with it what they want to. Some, in the event that like they forgot something or they want to add something, most of them, like we have, like I said, like a basic kind of like patching thing that's an upgrade for them to be able to do. Or, if they have their own editors or people that they want to use, that recording of the broadcast allows them the flexibility to, add some things on post. But as far as what we do, it's primarily live, either live streaming or live recording as live, basically.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine people love that they, can then take that stream from you guys and do with it whatever they want, because there's so much repurposing that you can do with live streaming.
Yes, there really is. Like not down from the clips and using them for Facebook ads and things like that. We understand that most of our clients are business owners, and that means they're doing this not as a hobby or just, some like a form of entertainment. Although they are trying to entertain their audience, they're also looking to educate their audience. They're also looking to drive traffic to more of their products and services. And so we create a system that is geared towards helping to make that happen, whether it's through specific call to action graphics that are helping to drive that traffic where they want it to go, and as far as like helping them to be able to monetize the live stream as well, because we offer things like, the ability for them to put in commercials inside of the broadcast or any kinds of like pop-up ads and things like that. So if they're working with sponsors for a virtual event, or they're working with sponsors even for their online TV show, those sponsors can be highlighted in their best light on their show, and then of course the client having to do basically nothing but, submit links to where we can find either pre-recorded video or imagery to add to the show.
That's awesome. What are some of the like most common questions or maybe concerns that you get from your clients when it comes to going live? Like, what are they? I don't know if
What are
hesitant
they
is the right
nervous
word, but like,
about?
what are they asking you the most?
Yeah, I think when it comes to live stream, I think the biggest concern that people have is, are we going to be, do we have enough prep time? Am I going to be able to do a rehearsal? Like, maybe they're nervous or things like that. And so, one of the things that we've incorporated into our build out process and like, getting them started is that we do, before we even get started with any of our clients, we have what's called a broadcast strategy session. And that broadcast strategy session helps us to get in alignment with the client about what they're looking to create, how they want it to look. We talk through broadcast branding. We talk through their business objectives, their broadcast objectives. What do they want the client to know? What do they want the client to feel? What do they want the client to do after watching the broadcast? What should they be inspired to do? So we learn about their products and services and how they're planning to integrate those things. Maybe if they don't have a full-on plan or strategy, we come in and offer some consultation around what they have currently and how those things can best be integrated into the process. So it's not just like I said, because we work with a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses, we really try to create a system that is going to help this broadcast work for them. So aside from just creating an awesome looking TV ready broadcast, our goal is to help make sure that this broadcast is working for them in the way that they want it to work for them. So I think a lot of questions, that we have are answered with that process, being able to take them through that broadcast strategy session. Then we have what's called a tech walkthrough session where the producer will jump on before the broadcast and make sure that the client, if they have maybe technology. So a lot of, people that want to do an online TV show, they may have been playing around with the idea for a while. They bought this camera they don't know how to use. They have this microphone they don't know how to use, right? And so the tech walkthrough just allows the producer to be able to real time walk them through the setup of those things, like their external camera, their lighting situation, even like where they're going to shoot in their home or office that has the best composition. So that session is important, and it gives our clients confidence that like, hey, I know how to use the equipment when it's time to jump on. I'm confident in being able to send the link out to my guests and things so that they're able to easily jump on. And just a lot of them don't have like, people love it when you can come in and provide a level of leadership. Like, they have this idea, right? Most of them have an idea about what it is that they want to do, but it's fragmented. And our job is to help put the pieces together in a way that gets the client excited about the process and not timid about it. So we do that, the tech walkthrough. And then of course they have what's called a demo session. It's an abbreviated session, not like the regular broadcast, but it's like an abbreviated little session where they're able to kind of test the process real time, get familiar with what it's like to have a producer in your ear while you're doing the broadcast, right? Because that's kind of a maybe something that they're not used to right at the beginning. So being comfortable with that process, and we do like a little recording. Most of them will use that recording as their promo video, and they'll use that for their Facebook ads and things like that. Just letting people know, hey, we're starting this new show. We're really excited about it. Here's what it's, what we'll be talking about. Here's where you can find us. Here's how you can never miss another episode, right? So we try to do like we've like I said, because of all of the questions that we had during the training times that we were doing before the 5 years, right, that we've been actually physically doing the broadcast for them. I took all of those questions that I was frequently getting and turned them into processes and systems that could answer and meet the needs of the client, as a holistic solution, live streaming solution.
Yeah, and I would imagine that I had another a gentleman on a couple weeks back who has been in broadcasting game for 20 plus years and has done a ton of remote events over the last year, and talked a lot about how key rehearsals and tech checks and everything that you
Yeah,
just mentioned are to specifically the flow of the show too,
mhm,
right? I mean, like you
definitely.
said, if somebody's not used to having a producer in their ear, I could
Yeah.
imagine that that can throw somebody off if you're just sitting down for the first time and you're
Mhm.
live and then somebody's talking to you. I mean, that
You're like,
it's a
"What?"
totally different ball
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, and we've had to let them know, like, "Hey, you're gonna be able to hear the producer kinda walking you through your run sheet, but just remember that the audience can't hear the producer, so if you start talking back to the producer, people are gonna think you're talking to yourself," right? So, it's gonna be important for them to, like, just to prep them,
Yeah.
in that way, and we also, like, create, like, little just documents and things like that, even for our like, if you they're doing a virtual event, um, we create like template emails and things like that that they can send to their guests in order to prep them
Mm,
for what they need to be on the show. So like just reminding them, hey, you're going to need your camera, a microphone, some headphones so that you can hear the producer, and that the producer's sound doesn't come out of your computer, right? Like so, just little things like that, and then being able to prep them in the way of internet connection. Make sure
mm.
you're coming in on a stable internet connection, and where you can come in on a laptop or a desktop computer. That's going to be the best way. I think doing all of these different prep things helps to mitigate like confusion on our end as well, because like
Mm.
if they're coming in on a phone and they're like, or if they're used to like a Zoom platform or something like that, this is our platform is completely different than something like a Zoom platform, because it's so graphic heavy. A lot of the times we're doing graphics and motion graphics and like crazy transitions. Like there's a lot of different things happening during the broadcast. So them being able to jump on, with the bandwidth that they're used to, like on a phone or something like that, they're going to need that extra stability to, be put into a broadcast like the one that we have. So just prepping them, I think it helps them to understand not just the what, but the why behind the what, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so that when things do come up, they're able to say like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not wired in, or yeah, this is like, I could probably go on my desktop or laptop computer to kind of help with the process. So, yep. That's it's like I said, it's a lot. It's a lot. It really
Yeah.
is. But
Wow. Yeah. You guys do a ton.
yeah. And so I think going through those steps really, like I said, help the client feel confident in our ability to really support them at the level that they really need to, and taking that load off of their shoulders so that they can focus on being the content creator,
Mhm.
and really just focusing in on just being a host and being facilitating the content throughout. I think one of the things that
Yes.
you learn as a business owner is that one of the first things that you learn is that even if you are good you are techie. Like we actually work with a lot of people who are not techie, but even the people that are techie, like one of the things that's really difficult to do was live stream, because it's hard to have your producer hat on and your host hat on at the same time, right? Like it's hard
Mhm.
to, especially if your live stream is complicated, like where you're bringing in, we're going to commercial, we're going to this feature video, we're, here's some images about what we're talking about right now, like all of these different things. It just becomes convoluted. You're putting your technical brain on, and then you're trying to put your creative brain on while you're doing,
Yeah.
the question asking and things like that. So even people that are good at it, one of the things that, like I said, you learn in business is that even if I'm good at something, it doesn't mean it's the best use of my time. And being a
Mm.
good CEO has to do with being able to know when to delegate certain things, so that from your process, or taking things off of your plate, so that you can collaborate with businesses who can just, make your life easier as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So we try to
Yeah.
kind of on
I
that
feel
note.
like that would be hard for me. And because like I love, being behind the scenes or like behind the controls of a
Yeah.
production. But if I can totally see that as a business owner, there
Mhm.
may be a lot of times that you have to step back from those roles and let somebody take over. I would imagine that's kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, well, like for most people that we work with, they're good at this thing, this business, this idea, that's this, system that they've created, and they really
Yeah.
want to focus in on that. They really don't want to master an entirely new skill just to get this thing out to the people, more of
Yeah.
the people that can benefit from it, right? They want they prefer to have somebody like us come in and just, take care of that side for them, so that they can focus on what they're good at and why they started the business in the first place. Most people don't want to start two businesses, you know what I mean? Two people
Sure.
whole different processes just to, get the one thing out there. And I think the trap that a lot of new entrepreneurs, like small business owners who are just there, maybe just by themselves starting a business, or them and maybe one other person, like it becomes difficult to know that, because there's so much to learn in starting a business, especially with the digital space, like even from email marketing to like just social media marketing, Facebook ads, you've got, systems, like there's just a ton of different things. And you have to make the decision, am I going to learn this am I taking the time from mastering this just so I can get the product or service out there? Then I have to do the product or service, and then I have to have my show, and then I have to have my virtual event. Like it's just so much that people are happy to get some of this taken off their hands, and that's been what we found. And we've been able to kind of, be the good news that, hey, you don't have to do all of this by yourself. We can partner with you, and we're happy to do it, so.
Yes. And now, and what about for you personally, Kimberly, what is your role, and what does your team look like? Do you have multiple producers that kind of help you out? Are you just kind of overseeing, like, talking with the clients, or are you doing actual productions yourself? I'd love to hear about kind of, your specific role too.
Yeah. Great question. So my role is learning to delegate myself, right? So,
that's what I was saying. It'd be so hard for me.
But it's learning to delegate. I think I come in at the beginning side of the relationship a lot. So like helping them make sense of these fragments, make these things whole. I think during the broadcast strategy session is like my role, where I'm like helping to set expectations with the client about what they can expect throughout the process. Really going through broadcast strategy is a strength for me. So like I put myself in that position. So I'm kind of like the first person that they speak to in regards to that process. And then of course we do have producers like that kind of come in. But I even on that, like I like to try to be around on the first broadcast, but obviously all the producers are not like, in the same place because everything is remote. So things like that. But I'll pop in that way as well. So obviously, because I started the business, I know every facet of the business. And, I'm even, because of like the way that we are growing so quickly, having to learn how to give up some of the reins on different pieces and aspects of that, so that I have like, an overseer, like not, somebody overseeing, even because right now, like I'm overseeing different parts of that. Like, so the production side of it, like I'm the person who's making sure that the client is happy, in the sense that their product is, going the way that the producer and them are getting along, and the process is running smooth and things like that. But like I'm in the process of, developing coordinators for different aspects of the business. Right now my team is small. We do, there's 5 total people on the team, but within that process, even there's just so much to do that we all kind of wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. And what, I want to talk a little bit about software. I mentioned I love talking tech and stuff. So do you have like kind of a main streaming software that you're always working with, or do you kind of choose that kind of stuff based on what the client needs?
I think it is based on what the client needs. Like I will say some of my favorites are like vMix and Wirecast and things like that, because they give flexibility to the look of how something looks. But again, it does really depend on the need of the client. Like, some people are like, oh, we need this like kind of a simple base thing. But most people who come to us are coming to us because we've created, this awesome looking thing, right? So like the broadcast graphics and things like that are really custom to their specific thing. So we like to work with platforms that provide the highest level of flexibility and stability as it pertains to the software itself.
And is there any, because I'm looking at your setup and it's awesome. I love the look. I love the lighting, and I can tell you're using a nice camera. So any kind of new or favorite pieces of equipment that you've just got, or anything you're testing out that you're really liking that I need to go check out? Yeah, that I find myself like, I look at equipment and I'm like, do I really need it? No, but is it awesome? Yes. and
right? And
therefore I think I need to have it.
yeah, like as a tech junkie, you can literally start collecting, tech that maybe isn't always useful to the process, but it's like, oh yeah, I have that. I have that. You
Yeah.
you almost feel good about yourself just because you have it, right? Like it's like
Don't need that.
right, exactly. So, but what's interesting? So for our clients, like again, they're not like you and I, like tech nerds and stuff like
Yeah.
that, or that really want all that stuff. Like they want you to tell them exactly what to get. If they're gonna get something, they want you to just be like, get this, this, and this. That's all you need to achieve what you've seen in the way of the demos or what you've seen in the way of previous recordings and things like that. So on my end, like my personal side,
Yeah.
I have tech that like I probably wouldn't even recommend to my clients because they don't need it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and I don't want to confuse them. You know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
from a studio perspective, like from because they don't really deal with a lot of the tech side either, all they really need is like a camera and a good mic, right? And so like that can, again, the way that a broadcast looks, I would say is, it definitely depends on like the camera quality, but camera quality these days, like even on the iPhone, you can get like high level video quality if it's a newer version, right? But as far as the camera is, like we used an old camera, like a T6i forever. And we're still able to get like this like high level look. The one that I'm on right now, this is like what is this? The Sony A5100. Like it's old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the look of a broadcast, like we believe in the power of composition and lighting. You know what I mean? Composition and lighting, I think, is everything when it comes to like how something looks. So I try not to get people to focus too heavily on the equipment, because by the time we have this conversation, whatever I mentioned will probably be outdated, right? Like by the time the person is watching this broadcast, like the whole, oh, well, now the new one, what do you think about that? Like, and I've actually kind of like, I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more tech reviews and things like that, just because people who are techie like that kind of stuff. But again, because I haven't gone there just yet, because our clients are really not techie people. Like they just want to know about like how they can use the broadcast to make money, to collaborate with their sponsors, to do whatever it is that they're looking to do. They want to know how much you do in terms of the relationship with them. So, but I have decided this year that I do want to do more tech reviews and things like that. But I will say that the Elgato Stream Deck, I do love that. It helps us to stay really organized and be able to automate a lot of different things within the process of a show. So I do like that. What else do I like? I do use a what is the name? The name is like escaping me right now.
I've heard a lot of recommendations for the Elgato Stream Deck, and
I think that's a small little piece of equipment that goes a long way. Like not just in automating even a show, like even elements within your show, but also like just in general, like with your whole business system setup. Like it's one of those things that you're even in studio, we're able to like set lighting settings, like do interview setup, lighting setup,
so nice.
It's just so many different things. So I think I would consider that definitely a must-have. I'm kind of loving this little Shure thing here too. These mics are good for like in-person kind of interviews and things like that. This is the Shure M7, and I really do like this microphone. So I would definitely recommend this to other people as well. Oh, and lenses, like when it comes to, so this is, like I mentioned, this is an old camera, guys. This is a Sony A5100. I think on the lens itself, or the lens that we're using, is a 30 millimeter lens. And we also have the, what is it, 16 millimeter lens also. So I would do those lenses if you're working with a small space, because those you can get a lot of like a wide shot. I keep hitting this thing. A wide shot that is really cool with that process, with the 30 millimeter lens and the 16 millimeter lens. I think it's a 16 millimeter lens, but I really love those for small spaces. And I do recommend those to clients if they are working with a tiny space and they don't want it to appear tiny, I'm just in my living room right now, and this is actually interestingly enough, this living room is the smallest room in my house, right? But within this, you're still able to kind of get a wide shot of this small room, and it doesn't appear small in this shot because of the lenses that we use, and also I think the 30 millimeter is like flattering to the face and things like that. The 16 kind of bows just a little bit, but it's in that you see a lot of YouTubers use that lens as well, because the lens allows more light to flow through the camera, giving you that like professional kind of vibe to it. And if you do like LED lights in the background, it just kind of can get really magical on you. So those are like, when it comes to stuff like that, I'm really more nerdy about like the output of like what it's creating. So I recommend things that help me get the output that I want more than I do technology around like like just do this one versus this one. And like, if you find something that works, guys, like stick with it. I feel like, there's no need of like, I'm speaking not as my nerdy side. I'm talking to an entrepreneur. Like, there's no need of recreating the wheel and like, investing every year into the newest, greatest, latest. Like, even with you can get by on an older camera with a great lens and make it work for years. You know what I mean? So that's what we've been able to do. That's what we were able to like, consult our clients to do as well. So I try not to confuse them with the technology.
Totally.
Yeah. But I definitely myself, like, love trying to see what's new and going out there, testing things out. And like, just like you, I'm definitely an undercover nerd. Like when it comes to stuff like this, I remember I told one of my friends, I was like, dude, I'm like such an undercover nerd. He was like, you're not that undercover. I was like,
I have found myself like, I've been paying more attention to Amazon Live lately, and I will find myself just sitting and watching somebody just sitting at their desk, which is awesome. They've got like the coolest setup, just sitting at their desk.
The shot, like,
well, and they're working. All they're doing, they're an Amazon Live streamer, and they're working, but they've set up an Amazon Live, and all they're doing is they're just going through all the equipment they own. And I could sit and watch that stuff for like hours. So I'm like,
me too. And studio, what do they do? The studio tours and things like that. I love those too.
Yes.
When you get to see like all like, oh, okay, so what, like, their setup, like their computer setup and all of their drives and all of their like, so I know I can definitely go there when it comes to
so just a couple more things for you, Kimberly. I did want to, this talk kind of made me think about, what are the most, as when it comes to like techie things, what are you like really focusing on with your clients the most? Do you find yourself like spending the most time on lighting, or is it sound, or is it just kind of like setting up their shot in general? What do people kind of, you find they need some of the most help with?
That is such a great question. And the crazy thing is, it's not even technology. Like it's strategy, broadcast strategy. Because most people, like I said, they have this cool idea. They don't know how it's actually supposed to work for them. You know what I mean? So they're coming in like, oh yeah, like let's start a show. But how do I connect this with my product or service? Like, how do I make this relevant to the potential clients? How do I find potential clients? Like, you know what I mean? With the show. And so I think like for me, like especially being on the front end side of this, like being when I'm talking to clients and things like that, one of the things that I feel like their focal points is that they just have a lot of questions about, like, as a business owner, how do I take an online TV show and turn it into a revenue generating process for the business, right? So we talk through broadcast strategy because we understand those are the things that are important to the client. At the end of the day, like if they don't look the greatest, they care that we make them look good, right? Like, because they kind of put that in our hands, so they trust that. So I don't have to have a lot of tech conversations with them, aside from like their tech walkthrough when they're just, okay, like here's where you put the camera, here's where you put the mic, here's the background, and they're good. They don't want to have tech conversations with me. They don't, but they do want to talk about like, hey, like, when we do sponsors and things like that, like where do those go? And, where can we when can we incorporate things like commercials and, like just different things about like sponsorship, also about like connecting it to their products and services. So different call to actions about helping them to drive traffic to different places at different times, I think is important to them,
Yeah.
and yeah. So like, this is like it's a business entrepreneur's perspective. So they're it's very different than like nerdy techie people that jump on live streams and we want to talk technology,
Yeah.
but entrepreneurs, they want to talk money. You know what I mean? So like,
Yes.
we have those conversations with them, and I think those have been the most beneficial for them, also the most enlightening for them, because they're, again, you have to think about like they're adopting an entirely new process for attracting and converting clients online. And some of the most successful businesses right now use online TV shows to connect with their audience and to convert their audience through social media. And so people like, think about some bigger entrepreneur type brands like the Grant Cardones, Marie Forleos of life, right? They've been able to build this sustaining platform just by through video and having an online TV show that answers and gives value to prospective clients. And then so when they're ready to make an offer, people want more of what they have. So it's really about like introducing a solution, offering value at the front level, and then giving an invitation for them to go deeper into whatever it is that you kind of talked about. And so we follow a model that is like that, to where we're telling them, here guys, like when we talk about content outline, we talk about like, yeah, there's some things that may feel like repetitive in the sense of doing it over and over again. But you have to understand, like with social media, most people, unless they're finding you direct on YouTube, most people are not searching for your content. They're stumbling upon it. Yeah. And so, keeping and holding their attention aside, like it's going to start with the visual, obviously. If it looks good and it looks, compelling, it's colorful, they're like, ooh, what's that? Right. But then after that, you need to make sure that you're giving value to them in a way that answers a need that they're already having. So helping, just strategize, helping the client understand how to content create with strategy in mind about how to get them to their overall objective, whether that's growing their audience, whether that's, creating a show that drives traffic to their products and services. Those are things that you need to be adding value to at the front end, and then giving that invitation, like not forgetting to give that invitation at the end to say, guys, if you loved what you heard today, if you loved all today's free content and you really want to go deeper into this, or you want to know more about how to do this process or whatever, then make sure that you jump on our email list, or make sure that you download our survey or things like that. Like these are the little pieces that make broadcast work for the client, right? A lot of times people will get on a broadcast and they'll deliver this amazing content, and it was valuable to the person who watched it, but they did themselves and their audience a disservice, because at the end of the broadcast, they were just like, all right, like I hope you enjoyed that, guys. We'll see you on the next one, right? But they gave the audience no way to go deeper into what they're talking about, no way, no invitation for them to even check out their products or services or anything like that. And then they get frustrated because they're like, man, why isn't this working for me? Like I did all these really awesome episodes. It's got like a ton of views, but no like measurable metric for, was this working for me for conversion at any level, whether that's like information conversion, taking action, like basic action type of conversion, or monetary conversion. And so we teach them during that broadcast strategy, what that looks like, and how, your broadcast should be adding both value to your audience and to the business. Right. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love all of it. Kimberly, last thing I want to ask you, and some of what you already mentioned, somebody that is thinking of maybe starting a remote production company of their own, or they want to start producing more remote live events for clients. Yeah. You've done this for 5 years now, and I'm sure it's been a grind, and obviously hard work is a key to that. What, if somebody is looking to start their own remote production company, or they want to do more of this work, how do they, what's been key for you guys in, sustaining this for so long and continuing to bring in the clients that you do?
Good question. So I think for me, like, I would say if you're getting started with this process, let me just say right off the bat, like you need systems. Like it's going to be so important that you set up working systems for how you deal with certain things and how you mitigate certain things and how you troubleshoot certain things. Like we literally have like a library of if this is not working, check these things. You know what I mean? Like, so, and we have to have that because we run into like, if we ever have a problem, like a technology problem, like it goes into the library immediately, right? So if something's not working that we haven't seen already before, it's a new tech problem or something. Once we find the solution, like we're like, okay, these are the things like that you need to check. If this isn't working, then, you know, I would definitely say you need to have systems in place, right? Because you can fix something for a client and then forget how you did it, or the next producer won't be, you know, has the same problem and they don't know how you did it and you didn't write it down. Like it's just like a whole thing, right? So, and so that's that one process is like just make sure that you have systems in place, right, for how you're working with the client. But also I would say like, you know, when it comes to getting clients, I think it goes back to understanding their objectives. Like this is where like you have to kind of separate your techie brain with, you know, like thinking that they're like, I provide technology. I'm a techie. I love technology. Let's talk technology. Business people get confused with technology. So you want to try to actually have less conversation about technology and have more conversation even in your marketing, right? About how your solution helps them move forward in what they're trying to do. Does that make sense? So
100%.
So what we do is like focus our marketing in on the solution that we provide for the client so that they don't have to, right? So making sure that they understand like this is what it takes. Yeah. Like it takes all this techie stuff, but good news, you don't have to do any of that. You know what I mean? Like all you have to do is jump on a broadcast and be able to get the same effect. So I think when you start having conversations about how you can alleviate the pain points that a client is, you know, that a prospective client would have or a business person would have, and really highlight the things that are going to help move them further faster in their own industry, I think that's where you start having consistency when it comes to, you know, client acquisition. And for us, it's been, you know, it's interesting. Like we have a lot of, I think my process is like completely kind of different than most video content creators that I've seen, because they do focus heavily on the techie people, and that kind of attracts more techie people who are mostly people who are trying to DIY the process. But because we're not providing a DIY type of service, we're doing a done for you service, right? A DFY service. Then we focus on less on technology and more on, you know, how these strategies help you meet your overall objectives. And so I guess it also depends on who it is that you're trying to service. So like there's companies who are trying to, you know, they're looking for people who want to take their course and do it themselves. And in that kind of conversation, obviously technology and things that are going to attract that kind of a techie person, those techie people are going to be watching it. But if you want to do more broadcasts for people who don't want to do it for themselves in the way of a remote producer, you know, focus less on the technology and focus more on what your technology helps them meet their overall business goals for the year.
That's awesome advice, Kimberly. And last thing, if people want to learn more about your company or yourself, where can they find you and where can they find your work?
Yeah. So you guys can go to remoteproducerlive.com. That's remoteproducerlive.com to check out like how this whole process that we've been talking about works and how it looks, and, you know, see some demos, things like that, things that we take care of so that you don't have to, over at remoteproducerlive.com. That's remoteproducerlive.com. If you want to specifically message me, you can do so. You can email me at Kimberly@remoteproducerlive.com. That's Kimberly at remoteproducerlive.com. If you just have a support question and you want to, ask a question about the process, just email support@remoteproducerlive.com. That's support@remoteproducerlive.com. On social media, guys, I'm Kimberly Flowers. So you'll be able to find me by either doing the @broadcastpreneur, or you can just search Kimberly Flowers and you'll be able to see our like fan page, I guess, there. Or if you search for Beauty and the Brand, you'll be able to find us there. So
awesome.
that's how
And Kimberly, thank you so much for taking the time. Had an excellent conversation. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to take a piece of your advice and say, if you guys want to see more of this content or
yes.
learn more about live streaming and what other folks in the industry are doing, check out jeffkozlowski.com for other podcasts, articles, videos, all that good stuff on streaming and tech. Kimberly, thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to maybe doing this again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care.